Hello everyone, welcome back to another day in the 100 days graphic design challenge. I'm using this 2480 by 1755 pixels. Very quickly, I'll click create. Then the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to be designing page 2, 3, 4 today. So I'm just going to head over to this place. I drag this rectangle, I drag it into here. I drop it here. Okay, so you have something like this. And I just increase this like this to fit the rectangle. Okay, I'll use my alt. Now drag this to this one. Okay, or better say I can just delete this one and then I'll zoom out. I use my alt and just click. Then I'll bring in a rectangle. I head over to this place and then I'm just going to click here and then I'll drag this rectangle over like this to have something like this. I'm just using this as a guide. Okay, so this is what we have. I'm just going to remove the stroke and I'll give it a feel. I'll change the color to this so that we have something like this. Then I'll use my alt key and I'll drag up to this point and I'll change this color. I'm going to use this and I'll use my alt and I'll drag up to this point. Okay, and I'll change this color. I'll just use this. Now as you can see, it's the same everything. The rectangles are of equal sizes. Okay, so I'll just head back to layers and I'll just close up the eyes of this image. The next thing I'm going to do is to bring in my ruler grid. I have it here. I just drag this way and I drop it here to demarcate them. I said I'm going to be designing 2, 3 and 4 on the same this like this. So now the next thing I'm going to do is to start with my first design. So I head over to my downloads very quickly. So I bring in this is the one we'll be using for this page. As I told you, this is page 2, page 3 and page 4. So I'll just hit enter. The second page was always there is about us, so I'm just going to head over to my tool, then I'll just select this. I don't want all of it, I just want something like this. Then I'll click here and I'll take it up like this, and then I'll right click and I'll convert to smart object. Okay, so we have something of this nature. So I'll just zoom in. Okay, so this is what we have. I'll just bring this and I'll take it up. I'll take it up this way. Next thing I'm going to do is to change my color of rectangle. I'll change it to white. Okay, something like this is okay. I'll hit okay to have something like this. Then the next thing I'm going to do is to adjust this image a little bit. So I head over to hue and saturation. So I click here and I go over to hue and saturation. For this I'm going to be using -100, enter. Okay, and then for this saturation I'm going to be using 28, enter. Okay, so I have something like this. I'll just clip it alone to this image. I just clip it to this image. Then very quickly I'm just going to create a rectangle very fast. I'll create a rectangle here to have something like this. Okay, I'll head over to properties and then I'm going to remove the stroke. Then I'll give it a feel. I'll give it this. Okay, let's use this color. So I head back to my layers and then I'll just drag it, bring this beneath. Okay, then I'll click here and I'm going to pick a color that matches. Okay, let's see. Let me just see overlay and then I'll reduce the opacity. Okay, I don't want it to be too much. Then I'll double click here and I'll change the color a bit. Okay, let's see. Okay, so I'll just use this. I'll just use this color. Okay, and then I'll click on this. I'll bring it beneath so that it affects this, and then I'll just leave this rectangle here. I'll just adjust this a little bit more so that this particular purple can change to blue. Okay, I'm just going to click here and I'll use my eraser tool, my brush tool. I'll just blend this in like this. Okay, to have something like this. So after that, the next thing I'm going to do is to put in my text. So I'll just fit screen and then I'll just put in my text very fast. Okay, I'll just say shift about BMW. Okay, so if you are doing for a company or for a brand, you can say about us. Okay, so I'm just going to change this color. Okay, so I'm just going to click OK. So this is what we have. I head over to layers. Why is it not changing? Okay, it's clipped here, so I'll just take it outside. Now we have something like this. I'm just going to increase this a little bit, and it's as though it's too dark, so I'm just going to head over to properties and I'll change this color. I'm going to take it to the lighter a bit. Okay, something like this is okay, so I'm just going to click OK. Now we have something like this. I'll bring it here. Let me just zoom in. Okay, so I'll just reduce this. Then I'll bring in a rectangle this way. Now drag it over here. I'm just going to give it, remove the stroke and give it a fill. Okay, I'll give it this same color that this other one has, and then I'm just going to write out my text box. And then I'll just reduce this, not too much. I'll be using regular. Okay, medium is okay, so I'll just leave it at medium. Then I'll reduce the spacing in between here. Okay, we have something like this. Then I'm just going to paste more text. Okay, so this is what we have. I just want to click here to arrange it this way, and then we have something like this. Okay, so I just take this up a bit, and then I'll just add something like a rectangle here, better still a triangle. I'll click here and then I'll hold my shift and I'll drag. Okay, to have something like this. Then I'll give it a fill. I'm going to give it this. Okay, then I'll bring it here. I'll remove the stroke like this. Okay, so I have something like this. So I'm just going to hold my control key and drag this way to have a right angle triangle. Okay, so I'm just going to hit enter. So this is what we have. I'll just bring this here. I will hold my Alt and drag, Ctrl T. I'll right click, now flip horizontal to have something like this. Okay, then I'm just going to click enter. Then I'll click here, Ctrl J. Then I'll just drag this up. So I head over to my layers. Okay, so this is it. I'll just bring it beneath this one, and then I'll double click. I'll change the color to something lighter. Okay, so I'll just drag it up a little bit more, not too much. Okay, so this is what we have. So I'll just do Ctrl J of this particular one, Ctrl T. I'll right click, I'll flip the other way around. So I just hold my shift and I'll drag this way to have something like this. So we have this and we have this. So I'll just click here. I'll click on this one, shift this one. I'll just bring them down a little bit. Okay, so we have something like this. Okay, so after that I'm just going to click here and I'm going to add a shadow. So I very quickly I click here, I head over to drop shadow very fast. Okay, so I wait for it to load. This is it. Okay, it's already taken the shadows. I have this, I have my spread, I have the size. Okay, I'm using a darker shade of this blue. Okay, something like this. Okay, and I'm just going to hit OK. The same thing for this one. I'll head over very quickly, drop shadow, and then I'll just wait for it to load. Okay, so we have this, and then as you can see it's not showing, so I just take it over this place so that distance can be inverted. So we have this and we have something like this. Okay, so I'm just going to adjust this a little bit. Okay, so this is what we have. Now the next thing I'm going to do is to move over to the third one. Now this is the second page. The next thing I'm going to do is to move over to this page. Okay, so for this page, the first thing I'm going to do very quickly, I'll double click and then I'm just going to change this color. Okay, I'll be using this. Okay, I'm just going to click OK. So now that I've added my color, the next thing I'm going to do is to bring in my image. So I click on this, I drag and I drop it into Photoshop like this. Okay, so we have something like this. I'm just going to adjust this, increase it, and then I'll increase this. I'll bring it this way. I'm just going to hit enter. Okay, and I'll just right click, create clipping mask to have something like this. I'm just going to change this to overlay. So we have something like this, and then I'm going to adjust this more. I'll increase it a little bit more this way. Okay, I'll just take it up, I'll reduce it a bit. Enter. So after I'm done adjusting, I'm just going to reduce the opacity. Okay, so that my text can be visible, and then I'll just lock this layer. Then I'll click here and I'll use my Alt and I'll drag. I'll bring this here and I will say why choose BMW. I'll put my question mark. Okay, so I have something like this. I'm just going to head over to properties very quickly. I'll change this color. I'm going to be using this. Okay, then I'll increase this. I'll change this to terminal. Okay, I'm going to use the Mi bold. Okay, then I'll bring this here. I'll just double click and somewhere I'm just going to put shift question mark. Then as I said earlier, this text does not have a special character, so I'm using monument. Okay, so we have something like this. Okay, before we continue, I'm just going to click here and then I'll change this to demi bold. Okay, so we have something like this, and then I'll just head back to my properties. I scroll through this place, I'll just leave it at underline, then I'll just bring it somewhere here. Let me zoom in. I click Z on my keyboard and I'll just zoom in. Okay, so we have something like this. Why choose BMW? So I'll just create a rectangle very quickly. Okay, I'm just going to drag that rectangle over this place to have something like this. Okay, I'll change the stroke to white and I'll increase the stroke to 3. Enter. Then I'll give it this a bit, not too much. Okay, I'll drop my 2. Let's see. Okay, so this is okay. Then I'm just going to bring in my text. So, but before that, I'm just going to click here. I'll reduce this a bit. Okay, I'll reduce this a bit, and then I'm just going to hit enter. Okay, and for this one, I'll click here. Okay, let me go back to my layers and then find my rectangle. This one, I'll just take it up. So I have something like this. So the next thing I'm going to do is to add my text. So I already have my text exported, so I go very quickly, I drag it into Photoshop like this. Okay, then I just reduce this to fit in to this rectangle that I have here. Okay, I have something like this. Okay, then I'll just hit enter and I'll click my rectangle and I'll adjust it. We have something like this, so I'll just click on it and adjust this part. Okay, so I'll just reduce it, enter. So we have something of this nature. I'll just reduce this a bit more so that it can begin where the rectangle begins. Okay, so this is what we have here. And the next thing I'm going to do is to add an image here. So I bring this image into this place, then I'll just reduce this so we have something like this. Okay, I'll just bring this here, I'll reduce it a bit more. Okay, so we have something like this. I'll drag it this way, drag it this way. Okay, I'm just going to hit enter. Then I head over to layers, I'll click here and then very quickly I use my brush tool and I'll erase this. I'll erase all this. Okay, I'll drop my tool and then I'm just going to bring this down a little bit. Then I'll head over to this place. I'm going to look for the one that fits best. Okay, let's see hard lights. Okay, so I'm just going to use this one and then I'll just reduce this a bit, not too much. Okay, so we have something like this. I'll take it down. Okay, I'll take it down a little bit more so that it does not affect our image. So I'll just click here and I'll use my brush to increase it and then I'll just try to adjust it, blend it a bit more. Okay, So after that, I'm just going to drop my tool. Now the next thing I'm going to do, I'm done with this third page. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is to add. So I just try adjusting this. Okay, so for this last page, this is the third page. So very quickly, I'm just going to bring in another image. So I already designed this in Photoshop, so I just had to, you know, bring it here. Okay, enter. Then I'll just change the color to white. I'm using white color for this one. Enter. Okay, so this is what we have. I'll click on it and I'll drag it to be at the middle page like this. I'll try reducing this a bit. Let's see how it looks. Enter. Okay, I'll just click here and try to erase these sharp edges. So I'll just change my hardness and then I'll just try to so after I'm done with that, the next thing I'm going to do very quickly is to add a text. I'm just going to say choose the shade that defines you. So I have this. I head back to properties and then I'm just going to change this. I'll change the color to something like this. Okay, and I'll remove this from here. I have this. Okay, the spacing in between is too much, so I'll just reduce the spacing and then I'll click here. I'll click on this and then I'm just going to take it to demi bold. I'll click on this one and then I'm just going to take it to regular, or I'll use medium. Okay, so we have this. Then I'll also click here. I'll increase this. Okay, so I have something like this and then I'm just going to bring this here and I'll bring my rectangle. I'll use my Alt. I'll drag it to this point. Okay, I'm just going to click here and I'll change the color. I'll be using this. So I just click on it. Okay, so I have something like this. Then the next thing I'm going to do is to bring this down. I want to add. Okay, Ctrl Z. I head over to layers. I'll click on this and then I'll look for this rectangle that I just duplicated. Okay, I'll just Ctrl G. I'll take this down this way and then the next thing I'm going to do is to add a text beneath here. Okay, I'm just going to add something like a text here. I'll double click and then so that it goes to my text tool. So I'll just click and I'll try adjusting this to be this way. Okay, so we have something like this. Okay, I'll just adjust it a little bit more. I'll click here and then I'll just drag this a little bit more. Okay, so we have something like this. Then the next thing I'm going to do is to add something like a rectangle. So I just drag this. Let me zoom in. I click Z on my keyboard. Okay, and just zoom in. Then for this one I'm going to change the color. I'll remove the stroke and I'll give it a fill. I'm using this. Okay, then I'll just use my control key. As we all know, I hold onto my shift and I'll drag something like this. Okay, so I'll just bring this here, don't leave it this way, and then I head over to layers, I double click, then I'll give it a color. I'll click here, I'll click here. Okay, I'll hold my alt, the same thing here, I'll just drag over, Ctrl T, right click, flip to the other side. Okay, so we have something like this, enter, and I'll hold on to this one, I'll hold on to this one, I'll Ctrl G, I'll Ctrl J to duplicate, then I'll Ctrl T, then I'll right click and I'll flip vertical because I want to take it up. Okay, so I just hold my shift key and I'll drag it until I reach the up part. Okay, so this is basically what we have for this design. So I'm just going to fit screen to see what we have done so far. Now this is 2, this is 3, and this is 4. Okay, I'm just trying to do finishing touches. So with that, we have come to the end of this design. Just going to see you in the next design. Please do like, share and subscribe to our YouTube channel. I'm just going to create the mock-up. You can watch our previous videos to see how mock-ups are created. So I'm going to see you all in the next video. Please do like, share and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks for watching. Bye.